Hello, my little GOPO angels. Welcome back. It's Mrs. Thorson. Today we are going to talk about the first two sections of Chapter 12. We're going to talk about what political ideology is and which way people lean, which we've kind of talked about, especially at the beginning of the course when we did the political spectrum quiz. And then I'm going to show you the different areas of policy where and which way the left versus the right leans towards those. All right, so what is political ideology? It's a set of beliefs about some type of desired goal or outcomes in government. It's what we think in our head. It's our values about those things. It's not a party, it's just how we feel about certain ideas. And sometimes we agree over policy and sometimes we disagree. So one thing that has been a policy that's been pretty controversial about whether or not people agree on is healthcare. And the big question is with healthcare, some people say it's a right, some people say it's a privilege. So what's the difference between a right and a privilege? Well, a right is something that is guaranteed, the government can't take away from you, like freedom of speech, life, liberty, and property. Where a privilege is something that a person can obtain or receive, but the government can take away from them. So Democrats basically use the idea of healthcare being a right to help them pass the Affordable Care Act, but the Republicans say healthcare is not a right that you're born with, the government can't take from you. It's a privilege that you can get sometimes. And they're worried that with Obamacare and socialized medicine, healthcare companies will increase their prices knowing people can automatically get it. And that they're worried that would harm some Americans. So party ideology is basically how a party, like a political party, like the Republicans and the Democrats, choose their different set of ideas and beliefs on major issues. So when we talk about party identification, that's just basically like Michael Scott on The Office when he declared bankruptcy. Party identification is the same way. You're just declaring what you are. I declare I'm a Democrat, or I declare I'm a Republican. And when we see that party identification, those parties tend to follow certain ideologies. Some of those ideologies, for instance, would be conservatism, which is what the right follows, which is the idea where government should kind of control social behavior, but they should stay out of the business of economics. Liberalism is on the left and what the Democrats tend to favor. And it's the ideal that the government should stay out of the social parts of life, but should definitely get involved in business and the economy. Conservatism promotes the idea of equality of opportunity, where liberalism promotes the idea of equality of outcome. Libertarianism is the Ron Swanson version of party ideology, which libertarians believe in, which is just stay out of my stuff all the time. Government. Very little government in anything. Now, these ideologies are obviously opposing, and the Republicans and Democrats have the different ideologies, but it's good because it gives people choice, and it balances out these values. Now, what do the parties do? They attempt to attract supporters by offering very different beliefs in one sense or another. Do they do that all the time? No. Towards election time, they kind of float around the middle, but they do have their own platform or ideology that splits them up very differently. So Democrats, as you can see, believe in the liberty of privacy, order, and gun regulation, protecting liberties of the accused, meaning like the rights of the accused. They are pro-choice when it comes to abortion, and they favor increased taxes, where the Republicans are the exact opposite. They believe in liberty in the marketplace, meaning business and the economy. They believe there should be order on immigration. There should be stronger punishment for offenders. They are pro-life when it comes to abortion, and they favor the tax cuts, not just for businesses, but also for individuals. So how do these ideologies fit into our economic policymaking? That's what we're going to look at in section 2. So let's look at the different types of economic systems there could be. Basically, you have one of three choices: a free market, a command economy, or a mixed economy. A free market, just a little heads up, and a lot of you already know this, it's basically the government is not involved in the economic system. The Producers and the consumers are the ones that control prices through their supply and demand. The command and control economy is what we saw with communism, where the government takes control of every part of the nation's economic policy. They're the ones that decide on production quotas and prices. It's decided solely by the government. And this is what we saw like with the Soviet Union. Adam Smith argued for this free economy that I talked about before, and another name for that free economy is known as laissez-faire. I forgot to tell you that. Most countries, though, even the United States does a mixed economy where they do have both command parts of it and also where the government's involved, and also free market. It just depends how much government is involved and how free the market is. For instance, like in America, the market controls 80% of the economy while the government controls like 20%. That's how we're a mixed economy. So one of the jobs of the government is to monitor how well the economy is doing, and they can determine this in several things. Number one, the gross domestic product, which is basically the value of all the goods and services produced in the economy. That's how we decide if we are going, we check that every quarter, and if we see it go down 2 quarters in a row, that's when we are told we are in an economic recession. We also measure how well an economy is doing by the unemployment rate. If we have people who are actively looking for a job but can't find work, if that number's high, then obviously things are bad. If that number's low, that means things are good. But when the unemployment rate is low, we typically see inflation, which is where prices rise on goods and services. And how do we measure that? With the Consumer Price Index, which just basically takes a basket of goods and services and sees, like, let's say today they look at it and at the price of bread and it's $1. And then a year from now, they look at the price of the bread and it's $1.10. Inflation is 10%. That's how they figure that out. Now, when it comes to macroeconomics, when the government gets involved in fixing or planning the economy as a whole, there's basically 2 theories on how to do that in a market economy. The first one is Keynesian economics, which is the idea that the government should get involved and inject money into the economy in order to make it thrive again. So if we're ever in like first of all, it doesn't matter who you believe, doesn't matter which side you're on. Every side says that there's a business cycle and we have booms and busts. We do really well and then we do really bad. It just happens. How long do they last? How big is a boom is it? How bad is a bust is it? We just don't know, but it happens. So when the bust happens, the government's job is to get involved and pump money into the economy. And by doing that, they're creating jobs. And when they create jobs, people are spending and the unemployment goes down, and that's how you get things done. This is an idea that Democrats tend to support because it allows for the government to have more control over the economy. FDR was the first one who did this with Keynesian economics with his New Deal. Obama did this as well. Actually, George W. Bush did this as well, even though he was a Republican. All right, the opposite side of that is supply side economics. So supply side economics, which has also been named Reaganomics, is this idea. If you lower the taxes on individuals and businesses are the job makers. If you lower taxes on them, they will in turn want to expand their businesses. When they expand their businesses, they hire more people and produce more products. When you produce more products, prices go down, and with the unemployment being low because those people are hired, they have more money to spend. And of course, people like to spend money on things when the prices are lower, and that was what makes the economy go. The critics of this say that it's called trickle-down economics, where the wealthy benefit, but it doesn't help those on the lower level. But the proponents say you have too many taxes, you have too much government involvement, it's going to kill the economy and slow down business. Republicans definitely support supply side economics. Reagan was the first one to really use it. Both George W. Bush and Trump agreed with it, and they did massive tax cuts. And both of these things, Keynesian and supply side economics, is known as like what a government would do with their fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is taxing and spending. How do they decide how to tax and spend in our economy? That's fiscal policy. So when looking at these decisions through fiscal policy, What do each side believe in? The Republicans support supply side economics. They support the idea of tax cuts. They also say if we're going to spend government money, it should really only be on the military. Democrats say we should do Keynesian economics, which means that you're going to need to increase taxes because they want to spend more. And they want to increase the spending because they want to target issues of equality of outcome. They want to make sure that those who have tried but have failed have some type of safety net. And that's the idea of equality of outcome. We saw this with Obama, where he increased the taxes on the wealthy and spent government money in order to boost the economy. All right, so next time we're going to be talking about what monetary policy is, which is also a way the government can get involved, and how political ideology goes along with that, and social issues as well, and how political ideology goes along with that when making policy at the national level. Talk to you later, kids. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.